What's going on, Lexington? Y'all are tuned back into Blackout Radio with the Dunn Boys. I'm Brandon Dunn, and I got my right-hand man, my partner in crime, Corey, the king of controversy, with us on 93.9 WLXU Lexington Community Radio. Today we gonna bust it up with you on some topics where we gonna get pretty deep. When you start hearing terms such as urban renewal, urban development, urban planning, revitalization, land banking, infill, mixed-use development, steering committees, urban service boundaries, those are terms for gentrification. And the best way that I can put this plain is think of Braveheart the movie. If you understand what happened in the beginning of Braveheart the movie, when the government, the military, the kings, and everybody start riding down on the people, trying to force those individuals to pay high taxes, take their lands, there was an issue. So when you hear those terms, understand that the cavalry are already on their way. Land will be taken, people will be imprisoned, and people will be oppressed. The poor people will be forced to pay extremely high taxes by any means necessary. So what happens after that? You know, people think that we're just talking. So what happens after the propaganda campaign starts? There's gonna be a very aggressive media campaign. And that very aggressive media campaign, the media will be talking about and pushing an agenda that Americans fear the most. Drug dealers, gangbangers, and gun violence. Politicians are gonna come into the community talking about they need to revitalize and that there's a need for more policing. They're gonna be raised, they're gonna be doors kicked in. Non-profit organizations will start coming into the black inner city communities to help the poor, underprivileged black folks. So in the words of Flavor Flav, the thing that I can say, don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Sound about right, Corey, man?
Yes, sir. Sounds right on point.
Now, in that conversation that we had earlier, you was talking to me about the nonprofits. The nonprofits coming into the community, and how come the nonprofits, the white nonprofit organizations, don't want to work on the issues that pertain to their community, but they want to push this "we want to save the world" agenda in the black community. Elaborate on that, man, so the folks will actually know what's going on and what we talking about, man.
Well, here locally in Lexington, Kentucky, we have a group of do-gooders, as I would like to call them, that are engaged in a campaign called Safe Summer 16. So what these nonprofit organizations have done is took it upon themselves, starting with one nonprofit organization of predominantly middle class, middle age to upper age white folks, decide that, you know, they're going to come in and save the hood. They're going to save the day. They're going to come in and stop the violence in the black community because only they can do it. So basically what we have is, for lack of a better term, a group of individuals with a God complex. They feel as though that they are so powerful and that we are so weak that we need their help in order to live a meaningful life, in order to survive and to maintain peace and order within our own communities. So what that organization has done is they've gotten together, they've taken it upon themselves to say, we're going to stop the violence in Lexington, Kentucky. So we're going to get a group of individuals and we're going to get token black people to stand beside us as we lead them into stopping the violence in their communities, because they're not capable of doing it themselves. They need us in the leadership capacity or the leadership role. And that's what's been happening.
So why aren't we capable, and why does it take the do-gooders, the nonprofits, to come into our community to clean it up? Or do we need their help? What's up with us as a people, man, to where they feel like they should do it, or is it something bigger than that?
I would say it's much bigger. I would say that they've bought into the hype. They've bought into the belief system, the white supremacist belief system especially, because once again, it is a group of white individuals who are coming to save the poor black souls. So what they did is they look at the media and they see the picture or the archetype that's being portrayed of the black community, the black man, us being violent, us being aggressive, us being dangerous and unable to help ourselves because we're nothing more than poor, uneducated savages. So what they do is they buy into the hype and they say, you know, I feel sorry for those people. And since I have privileges that those people will never benefit from because we are middle class white people, we are white people with professional careers, then what we're going to do is we're going to help the other people so that they can live like us and assimilate to our culture without understanding that we have our own culture. Without them understanding that white supremacy is the leading cause of the conditions in our community in the first place, whether they want to admit it or not. You know, there are Dr. Nellie Fuller Jr. said that there are 3 groups of people in the United States of America. You have whites, non-whites, and white supremacists. Well, the white supremacists control the media. They control the industries, whether it's business, whether it's church, whether it's government, whether it's education, what have you. The regular whites don't really realize this. They're not as educated as the white supremacists. So what they do is they look at non-whites as less than and inferior. So they say, well, since we have this privilege and since we're so good in everything that we do, we're going to go save those poor, unfortunate souls. And that's what's happening. I mean, it's part of a larger war or attack on the black man and woman, the black family, the black people in America in general.
You know what you just said sounds a lot like mixed use development. One of those red flags that I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Mixed use development is a type of urban development that blends residential, commercial, and check this out, culture, institutional, and industrial uses for the functions of physically and functionally integrating a community. So why blend culture? That's one thing, because when I'm starting to look at East End, there's not a blend of culture. There's a cultural overtake or a takeover is what I'm seeing. Now, you don't see black folks riding their bikes up and down the street without being tagged drug dealers. But you can see Marianne and Sue riding their bicycles and they're good old citizens. If you're walking a pit bull or a Rottweiler up and down the street, you looked at as a thug. When you see other white individuals walking their dogs in the community, they're housewives getting out of the house and walking through the neighborhood. Now, these plans have been in the works for a long time in Lexington. You know, a lot of people don't know about those plans, and one of the things that we brought up a long time ago in those plans when the developers came in was the fact in the picture is worth 1,000 words. So when they was talking about developing the community, giving it an upgrade, the pedestrians in the picture were all white. When you looked at the bread box or the old bread company that was on, 6th Street?
West 6th Brewery.
West 6th Brewery.
Okay. Yep.
All this is for the community. But in that picture, there were nothing in that picture but white folks riding their bikes, walking their children in strollers, businessmen in business attire. Fast forward to 2016, and black folks that walk up and down the street are looked at as outsiders. The police are called on them for just simply walking up and down the street for looking suspicious in their own community. It's really reminiscent of colonialism. Colonization of a community. And this isn't something that just took place here recently. This has been going on since I can remember, man. This goes all the way back to Africa, you know, and it's becoming an issue, not because someone coming into an inner city area and creating business for themselves. I feel like everybody, if you want to build, you want to work, you have the ideas to build, build where you see fit. But when you have politicians, you have community activists saying this is what we need to revitalize. That was one of the definitions, one of the words, revitalize, breathe new life into. Now, is it breathing new life into the individuals who are already in the community? Or is it snatching life out of the people that's in the community? All I see is higher prison sentences, death. That's what I see. When I hear revitalization, all I see is the death toll of my young black males getting younger and younger. Every year, we burying more and more of our young black men. But all the government can do is say, you know what, we need more police. But for some reason, the police are never around when those bullets start flying and our people start dropping. So what do we do? What do we do?
We need to look at the facts. First of all, one of the things that they do is they say that the black community is violent. And it can be, but I think, since we're going to have to go to a break real quick, we can get into that in the next segment, the truth about violence. But we need to look at the real picture. Basically, what's going on is, like you said, is colonialism. It's colonization. What they do is they come into our communities and they say, we're going to blend the cultures. That's what the East End Small Area Plan that was helped written by Andrea James, Councilwoman Andrea James, several years ago, almost 10 years ago. That's what it talked about. The blending of culture, correct?
Correct.
Well, now let's look at this blending of culture. They said the same thing about America. America's the melting pot, the blending of cultures. Do you see anything Native American around here? Do you see anything African around here? Because African people were indigenous to the United States as well. We don't see that. We see what is known as assimilation of culture, not a blending. So what you have is, we are taught that it's okay for us to walk our dogs in the areas. You got to have a little pooper scooper. But when black people have their dogs, their pit bulls are labeled just the same as aggressive and violent as the people who are walking them. Even though Staffordshire Terriers, what pit bulls are better known as by their AKC name, are some of the best dogs to have around children. They're not violent animals unless you breed them to be such. So what we have is assimilation of culture. They say we want bike lanes. We don't ride bicycles for transportation. That's something that people with money have the opportunity to do. So it's a lot of stuff that is being misled, and they're using those terms to mislead us into believing that something's going on that it's not. But we're going to have to take a break. We're going to come right back with Blackout Radio with the Dunn Boys.